guys, it's Julia and welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm going to be doing my June reading wrap-up, talking about all the books that I read in the month of June. First, talk about the statistics from this month, because last time you guys seemed to like the statistics, which I usually enjoy them in wrap-ups as well, so let's talk about those. So this month I read a total of 16 books, but some of them were manga, but I read 4 genres. I read 7 manga, 2 classics, 3 thrillers, 1 middle grade, 1 historical fiction, and 2 contemporaries. In formats, I read 10 paperbacks, 2 ebooks, 4 hardcovers. 9 of those authors were female and 3 of those authors were male. For my ratings, I had a range between 2.5 and 4.5, but my average was 3.5 overall. Let's just jump right in to the books. I read 7 volumes of Blue Exorcist. I read from volume 6 to 12, and these all ranged between 3 and 4 stars, all in between 3.25, 3.5, 3.75, but these were great. I really enjoyed the series. It's basically about the son of Satan who is training to become an exorcist, and his name is Rin, and we follow him at the school with his friends and just all these things that they have to do, and basically choose 2 favorites between all the ones that I read. I would go with volume 9 and volume 12 were my favorites. But I'll show you guys all the covers, but I won't be going through every single rating, but yes, those 2 were my personal favorites. So we have volume 6, volume 7, volume 8, which has got to be my favorite cover because it has Rin's familiar on it, volume 10, volume 11, oh, I missed volume 9, good job Julia, volume 9, and also volume 12, which, yes, so I read these this month. And next I read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and this is a classic novel, which I think is a given, and this book is about Pip, and he's an orphan, Pip being invited one day to go to this woman's house, and they have a daughter that's about his age, and it's just about wealth. It has to do with wealth, and it also has to do with Pip meeting some people and some criminals, and it just has to do with Pip and his journey, and it's a really interesting book. I do have a full-length review for this book, so if you want to know my full thoughts, I would check out that video, but I did enjoy this book. I found it a book that was hard for me to rate, and I loved the setting up until we went to London. I loved the setting of this small town, and I don't know how to describe the setting, but it was just beautiful. And then we moved to London and I was like, no, go back. But I did think it is a slow-paced book, but it is worth it. And I also thought that I also just loved Pip, and I just loved him the whole time, so that's why. And I also just love Dickens' writing, personally. Sometimes it can get confusing, and I'm sure some symbolism flew over my head a bit, but overall, I did enjoy this book, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Next up, I have The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This is another classic novel, but it's very short. It's more like a short story than anything else, but this is basically takes place in the Victorian era, and it's about a wife who basically, in that time period when they thought you were kind of anxious or mentally ill or anything along those lines, you were put on rest cure, which basically means that you are isolated from everything and everyone, and I don't know why my camera did that, but like I was saying, they are put on rest cure, which means you're basically locked in the house and you can't read, you can't do anything, and it's just about this woman, and she is in this room with this yellow wallpaper, and it's kind of like her drive to insanity, I guess, and it was okay. I liked the writing style, and I liked how this author did everything. It was like very insightful, and I really wasn't aware of this, and it's what I like. It's an unreliable narrator. It's dark and creepy kind of setting. Sometimes I did have to read things over though a few times, and also it just didn't blow me away, but it was a solid read. I gave it 3.25 out of 5. Next up, I read The Crown by Kiera Cass. This is the 5th and final book in the Selection series. I do have a review up on my channel for the whole series, so I'll link that somewhere. And basically, I did enjoy The Crown. I did find some things to be predictable and also some things to be unrealistic, I mean, and some of the boys, like the last 6 suitors, they flew by so fast, and I felt like the decision making for who was gonna leave was just zoomed through, and just one betrayal just zoomed, made the plot just like fly, which is not a good thing because it went by so quickly. And oddly enough, the finale is the smallest book in the series, and I think if it was longer, it could have been so much better, and it was enjoyable to read, and I think Edelyn developed a lot as a character, but I also wish we got more of a ending for the characters in the first trilogy, because if this is wrapping up the trilogy, I think we should have gotten more of the parents in this a little bit. And overall, I was happy with Edelyn's choice, but I felt the ending was just like flew through. I'm like, oh my god. But I gave The Crown 3.25 stars. Next up, I have a new favorite, and that is Salt to the Sea by Rita Sepetys. I read this as an ebook, but I absolutely loved it, so I really wanted a copy. This is a historical fiction novel that is basically about the tragedy that is the Gustloff, I believe is how you say it, which it is this ship that sank, and we follow 4 perspectives, and we follow a group of people that are on their journey together, trying to escape this war, trying to get the hell out of where they are, and just trying to survive. And each one of these people has their own stories, their own secrets, and it's just, I was attached to these characters so much. The writing was absolutely amazing. I don't remember the last time I was in a slump this year, and I don't remember the last time I flew through a book in 2 days, which is what I did with this, and it's bigger than I thought it was. And I just enjoyed this book so much. I would highly recommend it. This is, I think, my first historical fiction, which I loved it. So if you're new to historical fiction, I'd pick this up. And it was just so tragic. I'm still speechless. That's why I haven't made a review, and I don't know if I will because I'm just speechless. But overall, such an amazing story, so I would highly recommend it. I gave it 4.5 stars. Next, I read End of Watch by Stephen King. This was the 3rd and final book in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, or the Bill Hodges trilogy. So those books are some of my favorites. So I did really enjoy this book. I wasn't too keen on the technology element of it. I did do a review on this, but anyways, I liked the book a lot. Like, I was so attached to it. I didn't want it to end, and it was so, like, I flew through the thing. And the thing was, I wasn't too keen on the Zap It thing, which is like a Game Boy kind of thing. This did have kind of like a paranormal element, which wasn't my favorite thing ever, because the first 2 books had more of a realistic crime murder element, and this was just, you know, a more technology paranormal kind of book. I did think it was done well. It's just not usually my thing, but I love these characters so much, and I thought this was a decent end to the trilogy. So I gave this about a 3.75 out of 5. I read The Return to the Isle of the Lost by Melissa De La Cruz. This is the sequel to The Isle of the Lost, which came out last year, and basically this is about Disney's villains' kids, and they're on this one island, and this is when the kids have to go back to the island. And basically, I did enjoy this book. I thought it was a really fun, like, light middle grade read, and I did like it. It's just I did find some really cringy lines, but I did like how we had 4 perspectives. We had more than 4. We had like 5, I think. And we had the kids' villains that we follow. Personally, Mal's my favorite. She's the daughter of Maleficent. I also really liked Ben, who was a new installment in this, because I believe he was mentioned in the movie, but I don't remember him from book 1. And I really liked him. He was like the prince, and he was dating Mal, and it was just cute. I just liked his perspective and his point of view. And I liked the kids' journey and everything they went through. Then again though, it wasn't incredible, but I did give it 3.25 stars. And next, I read Dreamology by Lucy Keating. A new release, like almost brand new, and this is basically about this girl, and she just dreams about this guy, like, you know, perfect boy, whatever. His name's Max, and one day she's going into her psychology class, and he walks in the door, and it's like, hello? What? And it's just about them and their romance, and it was different than I was expecting. I kind of expected this to have more of a mental health kind of grab to it, like that she was mentally ill and that she was just like hallucinating him. That's not what it was. It wasn't what I thought. It was a lot lighter than I expected, and I didn't love the characters. Also kind of like a cheating element, which just got me annoyed. The book went by really fast and was kind of jumpy, and you know, but overall it was still okay, and I gave it 3 stars. Next here I have Stolen by Lucy Christopher. I did just do a book review on this, so I'll link that somewhere up on the screen. Basically, this is about a girl who gets abducted in an airport, and she is taken to the middle of nowhere. She is stuck there, and this book is written from book is written from her writing letter to her captor, and it does deal with Stockholm Syndrome as well, but it's not what you think. It was really good, really surprising, really intense. I felt like I was her, and it was kind of terrifying, and it was great. I was surprised it was YA because it was actually like kind of frightening, and I just felt it was so realistic and such an important book. So if you haven't read this, I would highly recommend it if you can handle like the triggers like abduction and things like that. So yeah, and I gave this about a 3.75 to a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I finished up the month with Suicide Forest by Jeremy Bates. This is a book that revolves around the actual forest in Japan, which I will not be able to pronounce the actual name, but it is basically about this group of people who are going to climb Mount Fuji, and basically they have that doesn't work out because of the weather, and so they meet these people that are going to go camp out and kind of like discover the suicide forest, and they decide to go with them, and it's about their journey through the forest and everything like that. That this was like a really interesting book. I didn't give it the highest rating, but I'm still happy I read it. Then again, sometimes they go off and talk about their backstories, and I'm like, can we just stick to the forest, please? I thought it was good to get a backstory of some characters, but then I was like, hold up, like, can we get back to this? And I just feel like it could have been sped up a little bit more, and maybe just, you know, a little more bodies and things like that being found. But yes, Suicide Forest I gave 2.5 out of 5 stars. So those were the books that I read in the month of June. Let me know what you read and what you thought about the books that I read. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as you can see, this was more of a successful month for me throughout this whole year. So I was really happy about that, and I think I read a lot, and I'm really happy with what I read. And I have 2 new favorites, 2. Stolen by Lucy Christopher and Salt of the Sea, and I just really enjoyed my time reading some of these books as well. So yes, I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Bye.